What's up, mortgage coach community? Dave Savage, sitting down with Jasmine Krnjetin. How you doing, Jasmine?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Dave, for having me.
Well, thank you for making time. I know you are a very busy mortgage professional balancing just a crazy low interest rate mortgage tidal wave and also just managing family and life. So thanks for making it, and tell everybody about what market you're in and a little bit about what kind of production you're doing and a little bit about your team.
So I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been in the business for about 17, 18 years now. I've got a team of, there's about 11 of us on my team right now, and we're closing somewhere between 30 and 50 loans a month right now. I think maybe 42 this month. So yeah, it's been fun. We like the low interest rates and the crazy purchase market happening right now. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, well, congrats. And that is in phenomenal volume. I mean, you're not just one of the top 1% in America, you're like the half of 1% in America. So congrats on the success and the leadership. And you definitely define a modern mortgage professional. There's really four technologies that I think drive that modern mortgage professional. It's using your CRM, not just weekly and daily, but like hourly. It's using your point of sale solution to make it easy and better for a family to apply. It's giving them the link so that they get advice versus a PDF, and it's using video. Are you using all four of those technologies pretty regularly?
Yeah, absolutely.
How often do you use your CRM?
1,000 times a day.
so hourly. What percentage of your clients are, when you take an app, you're giving them a link and they're filling out the app themselves?
Well, I go both ways on that. We definitely, when people call in, we will try to take the app over to phone, because we have loan partners up front who can take the loan app. And I like the idea of when somebody calls in, we have them. We might as well go ahead and grab all of their info. But then if somebody sends an email and says, hey, you were referred to me by blah, 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 what's the next step? Then of course we would just send them, but we have a great online app. So it's
preference management. But that is modern.
Exactly. We meet them where they are. Yeah.
Yeah. The channel that they're communicating on, you do it. That's modern. Yeah. And then what about the mortgage coach link? How often are you giving that to the family?
Every single time. We do not. Yeah, I don't know of any other way to do a presentation outside of using Mortgage Coach.
If you're doing 40 loans, a lot of times per day and per week. And then what about video? What are you doing with video, and how are you doing video?
Video is my baby right now. I am really, we're getting that going. I have been a late adopter, even though I'm not frightened of being on video, but it's just been one of those things that we're integrating. So we've got a schedule. And so if you check in with me early next year, I'm going to tell you that there is never anything that goes out without at least a bunch of videos coming out from us. But right now they're pretty simple and generic, but I'm getting there. I'm ramping it up. It's going to be awesome.
Well, again, this digital transition is something that's happened. So, yeah. But it does sound like you've embraced it and you are adopting it. So let's see here.
For me, video has been video calls all day long, like with clients. Instead of them coming into my office, now we're on video. That kind of video is easy, and we do that all the time. Video where I'm proactively sending emails to clients with videos or posting stuff on YouTube, I'm still getting there. That's the part that we're getting into. But videos during the process, videos when we're meeting with clients up front, that's easy. I love that part, but we're going to get more advanced.
What about using Mortgage Coach Live and Mortgage Coach Video, where either you're moving Mortgage Coach using the live experience, or you're adding a video to the Mortgage Coach TCA?
That has become it's a new one for me that I'm starting to think about, and it's getting to a place where I don't have the ability to. There is only so much of me to go around, and every client wants to have a conversation with me when we're starting. So I usually would have a call with a client when they come in, when they're pre-approved. And then I have a call once it's time to lock in the interest rate, once they're under contract. So like there is usually 2 calls, but when our volume is the way it is right now, it's tough to get both calls
It's
in.
4 o'clock.
And so we are kind of trying to use the Edge videos to maybe replace some of those, to just make me go a little bit further, I guess is the way I'm thinking, the right way to say it.
And that's what I'm hearing. I did an interview of Amber Kovarik, who did like 45 loans last month. And she's a mother of 2. And she's like, during the day, I'm doing purchases. And my team sets up a lot of the total cost analysis. And, she uses video. But she's like, refis? After my kids go to bed, I'm doing a mortgage coach TCA and I'm putting a video on all of them because it expands the hours of the day. Like, early in the morning, late at night. She couldn't get to the client. She puts a video on it. And then she's finding that it's accelerating the commitment. Like the TCA, she does what you do where she shows the prepayment, puts a 90-second video on it and wakes up in the morning and has a client that's like, green light, let's go. And she hands it to her team. So it's good it sounds like you're doing the same thing and you're getting after it. Well, one of the reasons why I asked to do this interview, you're a top producer, so I've interviewed you before, and I always love hearing what you do. But you've done over 100 total cost analysis over the past 30 days, and you've done a lot of those unautomated where you didn't leverage integrations, but you also did a lot of those leveraging integrations. You used Optimal Blue, you used Closing Corp, and I can only assume you're using it to make things faster and easier. And so my team said, we want to see how you do it. So do you mind, why don't you first describe how you're using the integrations in Mortgage Coach, and then let's have you show your desktop and think of yourself right now is you're going to go from I'm a loan officer to I'm a teacher, and I want you to, share what you do and then show what you do so that other Mortgage Coach members can learn how to use our integrations more effectively.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, there is a few different ways you can go about it. And I feel that when I'm creating an edge, or when my team is creating an edge, we start with the basics, right? We just kind of have like this basic layout. We have some of our own templates that we've set up that we utilize, which I think is great. I don't know how many people have spent a time on templates, even though it's getting to a place where templates may not be as necessary. Like if you are using some of the integrations, right? If you have the Closing Corp and whatnot, it's making the templates maybe a little bit less necessary. But I just really like the ability to reprice things on the fly as I'm talking to clients. So let's say that my team put together an estimate for me last night for a call early this morning. While I'm in Edge, I can just go ahead and reprice right through Optimal Blue, make sure that the pricing is good. So the Optimal Blue integration is really, really key. I like that a lot. And Closing Corp has been fun, especially now in the refi business is kind of, you have clients everywhere. Their mother lives in California. This way, that way, we can do loans pretty much all across the country. And so Closing Corp has been super helpful in that way because I'm just able to pull in all the pricing, for title fees and may not do loans in every day, so I don't necessarily know them. So it's really good, and I'm glad to kind of show you a little bit about my workflow so that you guys can kind of get into it.
Yeah, so why don't you pull up your desktop now? I do want to just some nomenclature clarity for folks. She's mentioned Edge, and
sorry,
we now call
it my team.
Well, it's okay. I mean, whenever I ask people, I'm like, how do you call it? And I'm like, and we call it the advice engine now. So we used to call where you input Mortgage Coach and go ahead and share your screen. We call that the advice engine today. And really the logic behind changing it was we have so many integrations now. And at the end of the day, what do we power? We power advice. And so we just, we call it the advice engine. And then the report, the presentation that goes to family, we call that the total cost analysis. Although I interview loan officers all the time and they have different names. I think Josh Metal, when he does refinances, he's calling it, I don't know. He had a name that was so customer friendly. your savings analysis,
Yeah, yeah,
I've had
yeah.
people call it your personal website. I've heard all kinds of names, but I just want everybody who's getting this lesson, this is the advice engine. This is where you can create a mortgage coach report. Now we're going to focus on how she uses Optimal Blue within the advice engine. You can go from Optimal Blue where you're pricing a
The
loan
other way around.
and
Yeah.
it will push
Mm.
into our advice engine. So go ahead and I want you to just show what you do and how you do it. And at some point, let's make sure we show a total cost analysis, just if there's kind of someone new to the mortgage coach community, they're like, okay, I get, this is where I create it. This is what the family gets. So go ahead and rock it out for us.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to start out by creating a purchase presentation. And so I'm going to go, I want to go fast, but I'm just going to kind of drop down into my teacher mode and be thorough. So hang in there with me. So first thing I'm going to fill in is, of course, the client information, just the basics. And then I'm going to jump into creating the strategy. That's where I'm going to go ahead and select my product template. So this is going to be a simple purchase. You'll see that I have a handful of templates here. These are my go-tos. So this is a conventional 20% down strategy. And now it's loading in some of the basics that I need. It has my homeowner's insurance rate, my tax rate, down payment, all of that is just sucking in and feeding in here. So this is going to be a $500,000 purchase with a 20% down payment. I'm not sure what the interest rate is going to be, but it's going to be a 30-year fixed mortgage. And so this is where I jump straight into the Optimal Blue pricing engine. And this is where I'm going to tell it what I'm looking for. Yes, it's a single family. I have a credit score. Let's go. I'm going to let it go, take a look at what's happening in my pricing engine. And it sounds like we have a 3.375 interest rate. I'm going to pull that in. And now my interest rate has been updated. My closing costs show that this rate is paying a discount back to the borrower. My closing costs have already plugged in. This is my template. I have this template set up. So this is my Georgia template. I use this all day long, every day. If this was a situation where I was, for example, looking to work in a different state, I would leave my lender an appraisal fee because that doesn't come in from Closing Corp. I would get rid of everything else. And then I would click on the Closing Corp fees button. And I would put in the zip code just so that it knows what I'm looking at. And then I'm going to let Closing Corp go out and collect my attorney fees, title fees, state intangible, whatnot, and pull it back into the product. One thing that's important is to create, when you're creating your strategies, is always fill in your first strategy as completely as you possibly can. Right? So go in, get the perfect closing template, get your title fees, MI, all of that structured perfectly, because otherwise, if you create your second and your third strategy too fast, then you are going to be looking at, you're going to have to go into all three strategies to update your MI or to update your taxes and your insurance, right? So just be patient, spend the time you need to spend, get your first strategy perfect, and then go and roll into your copying your second or third strategy. So these are our Closing Corp fees. I'm just going to hit OK. And now they're all filled in for us. We apply them to the loan and off we go. My next screen, this is where you would put in if they have any kind of earnest money. Let's say they have $5,000 in earnest money. I have these percentages already set up for my homeowner's insurance, for my taxes, so that'll autofill. And then we're good. We have our first template set up. We like it. And you can kind of take a look at it, preview it real quick to make sure that you like what you're seeing in your first situation. And once that is completed and it looks good to you, then you can start going in and renaming your strategies and copying over and making more of them. So look at your closing costs, your escrows, everything looks good, right?
So Jasmine, I want to just stop real quick. So guys, what you saw, loan officer, advice engine, call it the, central command for a mortgage professional that's modern, that does more than price. They give advice. And then this is the consumer experience. It's a link, family clicks on it, they get it. And it can be really simple. It can be one program, two programs, three programs. Now, what do you typically do? You said this was a purchase. How many programs do you usually show in a purchase situation?
So usually I will know most of the time, I'll know, are we doing 5% down? Are we doing 10% down? And then I'll do, because I always, like, you always talk to me about my seesaw analogy, right? I always talk to people like about, hey, there's always going to be several different rates that we can choose from on any product. And, the lower the rate, the higher your cost, the higher your cost of so I always kind of do this little seesaw analogy for my clients. So I'll always have about 2 or 3 strategies for the same product. And some other times, like if they're undecided, if they want the 5%, 10%, 3%, we can kind of take a look at that as well. And a lot of times as I'm in with the clients, I'm tweaking the back end of the advice engine and making this go for them.
Got it. So guys, there's a science of selling, and giving people options gives them power. One, it's transparency, it's options. And now when they pick the option, they basically own it. They've invested in the relationship. And guys, that is a modern strategy. Traditional loan officers often will just fee worksheet, PDF, or an email, or a rate shout out. Again, not the most effective way to get trust, deliver value. It's always delivering options. So great. So what else would you typically do? I think we've got a good understanding of how you use the optimal blue to pull price. We've got a good understanding of how you use the closing corp.
Yeah. So this would be a pretty typical purchase setup. And then I would always just go in and add a couple more strategies, copy over from the first one, and then I would get on the call with the clients to review the different options. I rely heavily. I'm just going to go ahead and add a second product here, just while I'm chatting to you about what I rely on. I rely heavily on the pricing engine, if you will, or on Optimal Blue, and on the whole mortgage advice engine to help my clients figure out what is the best strategy for them. And some of the questions that I will always ask is, I'll tell them, the best thing you guys can tell me while we're in this consultation is how long do you think you're going to be in this home? Because that is what's going to help me figure out what is the best strategy for you guys, right? And so I always want to make sure that we're reviewing the what is it going to be? What is the 5-year break-even point? What is the 30-year strategy? Are you going to save the most money with this one, that one? It all depends on how long they're going to be in their home. So that's what I'm always focused in on is how long are you going to be in your home? And then let me help you decide what is going to be the best strategy for you to use. So that's something that I would probably want to make sure that you guys are kind of doing with your clients when you're asking them questions that you're asking, how long are you going to be in this home to make sure that you pick the right option for them.
Love that. And guys, if you're doing a refi, always ask them, how old do you want to be when your home is paid off or when you're mortgage free? And always ask them, especially in these COVID times, how are you feeling about your current home? Like move up analysis. When I interviewed Amber Kovarik, she said 20% of my clients, she's in Chandler, Arizona, are saying, hey, I'd like to look at moving up. And then she goes from a refi TCA to a refi versus a move up TCA. So a couple other great questions to consider for anybody listening to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what I could also share with you is probably just an idea on the refinance strategies. If you wanted to just kind of take a look at what that would look like. What we do with
I'd love to have you show that. I do have one quick question. What percentage of the time is someone on your team doing the mortgage coach setup versus you?
So my team will generally set it up about 98% of the time. My team sets it up, and then I get on the call with the clients, and then I tweak things on the back end. So my team, I rely heavily on them. Everybody on the team, except for the loan processors, knows how to create a TCA. So there is about 5 or 6 of us on the team that can create a TCA. So whenever I have a client appointment scheduled, I get an email from my team that gives me the breakdown, like this is the conversation that we've had with a client, this is the conversation we've had with a realtor, here is your link to your CRM so you can see how many kids they have, where they live, everything we know about them, and here is your link to the mortgage coach. And
any chance you maybe share one of those at some point? Because I think that handoff between team, like when I interviewed Keith Collins and his team sets up all his TCAs. And when I interviewed him, he showed like, hey, this is what I get from them. And it's kind of like, it's an email with a breakdown and a link to the TCA so that he presents it. Now, Jeremy Forcier, his team does the setup, they do the app, but he does the TCA. So he showed in his CRM, he gets assigned a task, and it has like the details he needs to create the TCA, and then he creates the TCA, and then he delivers the video in the presentation. So I've seen it. I mean, I think your way is most common if you have a team doing it that way. But and guys, and I know a lot of people are watching this, you don't have a team, so you're doing it all. But nevertheless, it saves you time.
It does. Yeah, I feel like I can do these with my eyes closed at this point. Like, so it's not a big deal. But at the same time, it's a little bit like, especially I am kind of, I'm very much everything has to be perfect kind of a person. So like, I want the actual tax bill in here. If the taxes are $298.13 a month, I want that inside of my edge. So when I'm looking at this with my clients, we actually have the tax bill, we actually have the MI, we actually have the homeowner's insurance, right? And those are the parts of the puzzle that take time, which is why I like my team to do them for me versus, here's just an estimate of everything. I can put one together in less than a minute if I'm just kind of winging it, right? And when I have to, I'll do that. But I like to be accurate, especially if it's a call where they're under contract, we're about to lock in their loan. Like I pride myself in being able to pull up the edge, or what are we calling it? The advice engine. You see the first part of the link, it says edge. You see right in the top part of the link, it's edge.mortgage. That's why it's called edge. So yeah, I like to be able to pull up the original estimate I gave them and compare it to the final one at the end and say, look, we were only $38 or $238 off, right? We had this thing dialed in from the get-go. And I like that. I feel like that's very professional. I always promise my clients, like, we're going to over deliver, never under promise, so that's just how I like things. And that's why it's very,
it's great. By the way, what do you call it to the borrower? Like when you're forwarding the link in an email to the borrower, what do you call it? How is it positioned to the family?
So we usually say here, we just call it an estimate. We don't have anything specific that we're calling it. Here is a link to the estimate we've prepared for you. Sometimes the team they'll call it like the mortgage planning, estimate or something like that, but we haven't gotten anything too fancy. It's just like, here's an estimate, and we keep it simple.
Okay, so practical and simple. So cool. I know you got another thing you wanted to share with us. So
yeah,
let's see
so this is a cool thing that I learned from one of my buddies here at Waterstone, Andy Zeman, and we call it the refinance. So when we take a refinance application, we always want to show the clients what the new loan is going to look like. So let's say that this is going to be a $230,000 refi at 3.375%. And then I also like to show them the early payoff. Dave, do you want me to show them just real quick how I set up the early
Yeah,
payoff?
absolutely. Yeah, why
So
not?
the way we
This
create,
is a key move for
yeah,
top professionals.
it's really, really, really good. And it has helped me sell so many refis because it just shows the client the big picture, right? It shows them, it's not like, oh, it's $88 a month or whatever. It shows them like, oh my God, we're going to save $50,000 over the next 20 years. And that's why I really like, I don't think that I've done many refi estimates that have not had this early payoff feature. I keep the refi estimates really simple, guys. On purchases, I'll go into several different loan rate options for the client. With refis, I pick the one that's, that I think is the right one. And then I'll just do one rate and then the early payoff. That's how I sell my refis. And then if they come back and they say, oh, do you have a rate with more points, or can I have a no closing cost refi? Then I'll go into that conversation. Otherwise, I'll just kind of pick one strategy and I'm like, hey, this is how we save you $50,000 over the life of the loan. So what you do is
Time
you
out, time
yeah.
out. You notice, guys, she's talking with the family about the cost over time. Most loan officers would say, here's your rate, here's your payment, and they would be focused on the monthly savings. 90+% of loan officers, that's what they do. Jasmine is focusing on long-term value. So I just want to make sure people didn't fly by that.
Yeah, and it's a complete game changer. Trust me, these conversations are so different than having a conversation with a client where you are trying to get them to like, oh my God, your rate is going to be 0.5% cheaper. Like, this is so different. You're coming at it as a complete mortgage professional. I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for you big picture. And on the sales side of things, the cost for the refi is just not that big of a deal, right? Because like, what does it matter if it's going to cost $3,000 to refinance, right? If I'm going to save you, $100,000 over the life of the loan, right? So the cost becomes minimal. And then you can also talk about the cost in a way that it's, we have already priced in this cost. So even after we price in this cost, you're still saving thousands and thousands of dollars in interest over the life of the loan. And you will notice that it becomes such a different conversation. And now you're not having to fight with people about like, well, your closing costs are $2,000 and this closing cost was $1,995. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of takes that whole, whatever that nitpickiness is about, about the cost to refi, if you will. So what you will do is you will go in, you will create your perfect refi. This is the great interest rate we have for you on this loan. You're going to go over, you're going to copy from another product. You're going to copy over that exact strategy. And then what you do is you're going to call that strategy your early payoff strategy. And then you scoot over to your analysis into the adjust reinvestment strategy. And so what you're doing is you are taking whatever the monthly savings is, which is right here. He's going to be saving $171 a month from his current, compared to his current 4.375. And we're going to plug that in here into the reduction payment field. And so now what this does is basically it applies, it says, what if he kept paying the $1,254 a month? What would that do to the total picture of his savings over the life of the loan? And so then when you go in to present to your clients, you will see that the presentation is going to look like this. We've got a current payment at $1,254. You could save $171 a month, or you could just keep paying $1,254. And guess what? Instead of paying off your loan in 27 years, we are going to pay off the loan in 23 years. And look at the difference. Like, it's $111,000 in interest versus $170,000 in interest. That is what we are saving him if we refinance. If he just wanted to make the minimum payments, it's $145. It's still saving him, $20-some thousand. But this is how you sell refis, and make a big impact on people's bottom line. So.
Jasmine, you are awesome. Go to the top real quick. I want to see how you do your branding. Go to the very top. So it's got a great professional picture of herself. You've got your company logo. Guys, Jasmine is the modern mortgage professional. Anything else you want to share before we stop sharing the screen and just kind of wrap it up?
No, I think just if you're not using all the bells and whistles, just be uncomfortable for an hour or two. Just plug through it, get your templates, do whatever setup you need to do. It's so worth it. That's all I've got on.
Wait, before you stop sharing, go back. I wanted to show one more thing. Log in, go back to that same screen. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner of the advice engine, you notice that she can add a video. If you would click on that record video button in the top right-hand corner, I want to remind you guys that you could, when you click the record video button, you can record it with your mobile phone. You can record it with your desktop browser, or you could put an audio on it. One more thing before you go back to the advice engine tab, and then click on the upper right-hand corner where it says settings. So guys, we have gamified mortgage coach. So you could tell Jasmine she's not a black belt, she is a red belt. She's a grandmaster in mortgage coach. Wow, look at this. We hit the 2,000 mark today. She's created 2,000 videos.
I was up making edges all night long just to get 2,000.
Right? You have done over 11,102 people have viewed them. So guys, and you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen now. I just wanted you guys to see the beautiful gamification screen and how we take you from white belt to black belt. And then I also want you to think of something. She's created 2,000, but over 11,000 views. And when she clicks on it, like when she does that preview, that doesn't count as a view. It only counts as a view when a family, the link that you capture and you send, when someone clicks on that, that's a view. So it's 5 to 1. So for every one link that she's giving to a family, it's getting viewed 5 times. So some of that is the family going back and looking at the same one twice. Some of that is the family forwarding it to their realtor. Some of that is the family forwarding it to another family member, like the father-in-law that's loaning them a down payment, or the buddy at work that's trying to get him to use their lender. You know, so the impact of you take a loan with an app, you give advice, not with an app, with a link, you give advice with a link. When you use Zoom, it's a link. So guys, we live in a link economy. It's never been more important that you give advice with a link. And the Mortgage Coach link is the fastest, most efficient way to give advice. And now that it's got these incredible integrations with all kinds of technology. I interviewed Andy yesterday and he showed off the integration with HomeBot. But we've got a lot of different integrations. So as we wrap it up, you're a teacher here, but you just showed what you do to a lot of loan officers. Any closing teacher thoughts to the Mortgage Coach community?
I think of our business as an art form, right? And it's a craft that we can just keep making better as we're going through our motions, as we're doing loans. I am always looking at how can I make things just a little bit better, right? How can I make it a little bit prettier? How can I make it a little bit nicer for my clients, a little bit easier for my clients? And I think if you view your business that way, it's just organically going to keep on growing, because when I get on a video call with a client and we're looking at, I'm sharing my screen, we're looking at the Mortgage Coach presentation, I really think about everything. I think about how are they going to feel? I want them to feel like they just walked into a very warm, caring, nurturing place. We're not here for a transaction. We are here to make them feel warm and fuzzy, and I want them to know that we've got their back, right? And so that's everything. Like, standardize. I mean, my team thinks I am a psycho, but I am a little bit, because like we all use the exact same font. We all have the exact same signature. Like I want everything, like when they get an email from Jasmine team, it's going to look the same. If it came from Jasmine or from Amy or from Jeff, it does not matter who that email came from. It's got to look perfect, right? And it's something that we don't think about when we're in it all day long. It's just an email. Who cares? Here's an attachment, right? But you have to look at your business from that perspective. Like it's a piece of art, right? And when a client is going to get 300 emails from you, you better make those emails look good, right? And think about every part of your business and constantly keep improving whatever it is that you're working on that day. And I think that my clients notice it, and I think that our clients, they appreciate it, right? Because we're just different. We're not the people sending out little ratty old fee sheets, right? We're professionals and we love what we do. So you've got to make that kind of shine through, whether it's in your video call with a client or by sending them the mortgage advisor edge. What are we calling it?
You call
Advice engine.
Call it whatever you want, but I like that little ratty old little fee worksheet. So thank you. That's a quote that we will use here at Mortgage Coach. And guys, you just heard from a mortgage professional that's going to do over 300 loans this year. That means 300 plus families served. Looks like you're well on your way to doing over $100 million for the year. I don't know exactly what your production is so far year to date, but I know it's on its way to, what's that?
It'll be fun. The way I'm thinking of it is I feel like that this refi boom is just like, it's just a blessing because it lets us kind of have our training wheels on, right? Like we can get our teams to learn how to do 50 closings a month, right? And then next year we can do 50 purchases a month. Right now, maybe we're doing, 30 purchases, but it's kind of a blessing to kind of get everybody up to speed on working in this much bigger play field. So I'm enjoying it. I love it. It's awesome.
You can tell that you have a lot of fun what you do, and families are clearly lucky to work with you. We know that they're getting accurate advice. We know that they're getting the best advice, and we know that you're delivering it in the most valuable way possible. So Mortgage Coach community, hopefully you got value from this. Those of you that have the integrations activated like Optimal Blue and Closing Corp, you could take advantage of this right now. If you work for a lender that has those technologies but doesn't have our integration turned on, you can let us know down below. You can email me at dave@mortgagecoach.com. On our website at mortgagecoach.com, we have a partners page. So you can see all the CRMs, LOSs, pricing, tools like HomeBot, how they integrate with us. So check that out. If you are with a company that has those, make sure you let your management know that there's a better way to do it, and Mortgage Coach is that better way. So thank you so much, Jasmine. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Give us a like down below, guys. And if you loved it, give it a love. Take care.